people that don't know this, but you already had an offer to sell the entire company for a couple of million. And you said, well, that's nice. Thanks for your trust, but no, thank you. I'm going to take this company to the next level.
The interesting part was that the offer was not just having money and enjoying the money from like within 2 years from the day we launched, but also the offer was that I would still be a part of the company. So they're not like buying me out and leaving me aside. So it made it even twice more, even more attractive, right? Because you're still doing what you love.
Welcome, welcome. We're live today with the most amazing, now I'm even afraid to say your name, we've been practicing, Zhana Dar. I'm super happy to interview you today. I think you have so many things that you could share with us. Of course, as the founder and CEO of Fin.do, but also your life story is incredible. So I would like to actually start off there, because right now you're calling in from Ukraine, but that's not where you started your life, right?
Yeah, so I actually lived in 5 countries.
Wow.
Yeah, so we moved a lot with the family. Originally, I'm from very tiny city, which was a part of Georgia. It's called, the territory was called and still called Khazia. After the civil war there, we moved to live in Moscow, and then we moved to live in Hungary, and then to Israel. And from Israel, I happened to be here in Kiev, and I'm living here for the past 10 years.
Nice. So it was almost natural that you were going into global payments, right? Like growing up like that?
I think global payments is something that is really like an international issue. You know, whenever you always have this issue of sending or receiving money to your family members. Mm-hmm. And I remember how we struggled all the time about like my dad sending us money if we are in Moscow. And as you probably know, like everyone knows traditional ways to send money, and it's quite strange that like in 21st century the traditional ways to send money are still there when there is iPhone, when there is like so many things in technology that are happening, and AI and robots and the whole technology thing is developing so fast. In payments, we see same players all the time, and nothing is really changing. So yes, my international experience made me think: what would it be like finding solution that is convenient, like locally? A lot of people locally have like a very convenient solution, like in Ukraine, in Kiev, using this card-to-card system for about 10 years. And it made me think like, why in Kiev they are used to this way to communicate with their money, and there's such a convenient way to send and receive money, and there's no similar thing abroad. In Europe, which is more like is Ukraine is considered to be a developing country, but in finance and banking, they're very much developed, even more than any other European countries or even USA. I started to dig into this issue. It was quite a surprise to find out that the banking system is quite outdated, and this is why nothing is changing, and the technology that they're using is very old technology, and SWIFT exists for centuries already, I suppose. So we find ourselves in a way that we have to use these systems because they are already there, they're the infrastructure. And when I figured out that Ukrainian banks are using a card-to-card system for money transfers, I just made a few calls, and I started to dig into this issue. I found some people in Israel to just ask. I was just asking questions. Why is this here and it doesn't exist there? And so planned that the main problem was that banks are using outdated systems, and it's not very easy for them to switch into new systems because of the legacy systems that exist so many years. I was lucky to find someone who connected me to the right people within the card network system, and I actually at that time I took a designer And they just showed how simple it can be to send and receive money if we just use our mobile devices, and we already connected through our mobile device. We are connected through WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Viber, many other social networks. Why not to connect in order to send money and to send money the same way we do it locally? Why not to do it the same way also for cross-border?
Very valid question. There goes this was about to happen. We were discussing this in the my ears are very weird and things always fall out. Anyways, I can hear you properly again.
I almost caught it.
Yes, much better. Anyway, so that's fast forward to today. I want to go back a little bit to how you grew up, because you were mentioning that your father is actually an entrepreneur. And he did really well when you were a little girl, right? So how was that growing up in affluence?
Well, interesting part in terms of how I came up to being an entrepreneur myself. And I don't know if it's really a DNA thing, but my father was an entrepreneur himself. And when I was 8 years old, I was already drawing my logo for my company.
So what did it look like?
It was like some kind of weird thing that I think it was like a flag or something similar to that. I was just drawing things which were not very connected to the reality, but just wanted to make some kind of sign that it's mine. It was similar to flag, just putting my territory into this space. And my father was laughing at me. I think he was like saying, "No, you don't want to go into business, believe me." But eventually, he was taking me to all of his meetings. When we were in Moscow, I remember we went with the quite interesting people, and I was just sit there and listen. I was taking his documents from his suitcase and pretending to help him, just reading them and trying to give him some comments. And he was laughing, but he was really open about that. He never tried to tell me, "No, it's none of your business." He was really eager to teach me, even, I would say. And he was always very supportive. This is something very important for me. Even today, when I remember him, he just passed away a few 3 years ago. This is very, very important for parents to see, because whenever you're on your downside, the strength that you get is mostly from the people who you care about and who care about you. And I was super lucky to have my parents supporting me all the way.
Yes, but despite that, you didn't jump into being an entrepreneur right away, right? Because that's not the full journey. Like, your dad was a super successful entrepreneur, and then what happened?
Well, yeah, I was really very, let's say, living a high society lifestyle. He was super successful. We had a very comfortable life, I would say. And then, but entrepreneurship is something that goes through our beings. I even remember when we're sitting family dinners, then my uncles and my father would sit and discuss business, and it was also some kind of part of our lifestyle. I will answer to your question. I will just preliminary want to explain the lifestyle of the people who are into business all the time. They live it 24 hours. And so it was a lot of being inside of this, in this world.
In this bubble filled with entrepreneurs that were always discussing business. You as a little girl, acting as if you were already a businesswoman yourself.
Yes, I was trying to kind of be there to listen to everything they say, just to understand how things are working. And to my big surprise, even if you're super experienced entrepreneur, there can be sometimes failures, and this is something that I would pass to any entrepreneur in the world, that no matter how experienced you are, no matter how rich you are and how successful you are, there is also always a possibility of a failure. And this is what happened to my dad. Unfortunately, he got into business that didn't succeed, and it took him down and took our family down. So at that time, I was in the university, my 3rd grade, and I was supposed to get my BA within a year. And then he called me and he said, "I'm sorry." So we had to find out, my sister and I, what to do with that. So I dropped out from the university I was working already, having my training within the investment banking industry. Mm-hmm. So I was still working there, getting my training as a student, and I took 3 more jobs just to cover my studies, to pay for my studies and to help my family. So it was a very sudden change in the lifestyle because you're used to certain things and then all of a sudden you get to live another life completely. But what's interesting is that another part of this journey, I would say, is that I remember my father, although he was failing, he was trying a lot of things after that. Like he would never ever give up. And this is very inspiring because it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, you just cannot live without that.
Yeah, you always need to try again. Like, and that's also what people often say, right? Like when you fail is just when you give up trying. Like if you just keep on trying, you'll get back to success again.
This was my picture in front of me. I was saying to myself, my dad will try and he will try and he will try and he will succeed. And this didn't happen. He was trying, but unfortunately he got ill and then things got worse. But he was always very supportive in terms of, even when I started Fin.do, he was alive, and we talked about that a lot. And I was explaining that there are a lot of risks, and I think the challenging part was to start the business from the point you're in your life when you see all your loved ones were suffering from the failure, but you have to kind of believe that you can still make a difference and you can still try, although you see the experience of others and sometimes it's not the best experience. But I don't think failure is a bad thing. I think what it taught me, at least, is that I saw a person who I really care about and who was super supportive, but still he was trying all the time. And when I tried my business, he never told me, don't do it. He just said, there is no way back. You have to go. You have to be all in. Yeah. You have to understand that you cannot do it halfway. He said, you just have to decide and you have to do it. And although there was no happy ending about his story, but it was definitely a happy ending in terms of how his position was about my entrepreneurship. I think it gave me a lot of strength to believe that even if I fail, it doesn't matter. I just have this example of a person who is super optimistic, who was super dedicated to what he was doing. And he was always helping other people. He said, I'm doing what I'm doing because I enjoy the process and I love helping people.
Yeah, and you told me also about a very almost philosophical lesson that you also learned from this, right? Around value and the value of people.
Yes, we value people based on their current situation and their state of their success in this current moment. And we don't really try to, understand or to percept person or anyone who we encounter with regarding his potential. What I'm trying to say is that many times we look at someone and we measure whether or not this person is successful or not. So we put him in this box, whether it's a successful box or failure box. And this is a huge mistake because this is the experience that we had with my family. And I told my father that this current moment doesn't define who you are, because you're a superstar and you are always going to be a superstar for all of your children. And this is what I'm saying to my kids as well. And this is what I'm saying to a lot of people I truly care about. Tell them that, it doesn't really matter if you're super successful today, because it's my personal view. Yes, everyone is different, but I do understand. I do see that if someone has a potential, then he will eventually. These other skills and this potential is what we have to value.
Yeah.
And everyone is resourceful at the end. You just have to find something that you love to do and to enjoy the resources that you have within yourself.
Yeah, and I think also what you stated earlier, like always keep asking questions and not taking things for granted and trying to simplify things, as you were mentioning as well. Your phones are not helping today. We'll just go on with one. That's fine. But anyways, to come back to your point, like you don't take things for granted, right? Like, when you're on the path of success and you grow up around all these these people that are successful, yeah, of course, having financial difficulty is very hard. And I can only imagine what you and your family, and especially your dad, have gone through. And on the other hand, you've mentioned already a couple of times that it taught you so many important lessons in life, right?
Of course, for sure. And I think failure is just another way to show you that it's another, like, it's the point that you can grow from, definitely, because it's something that I'm trying to do when I see that things don't work is just that I stop completely and I just let it go. I just put my focus on something else and I let things work out. Sometimes it will, if it's ought to be, and it won't if it's not something that you probably need at all. I'm not sure if, what I see about people who are, what I remember, about my dad is that he never wanted me to beat him, or he never wanted someone to think that he's suffering, because he was so much enjoying the journey of growing again. Then I think he was more enjoying the process than the eventual result of it.
And still, also your own journey wasn't a straightforward one, right? Because you first actually chose the route of being employed.
Well,
and then you even took a break from being employed.
Yes.
And only then you started your own business again.
Yes, exactly. I think when you're in the surviving mode, in terms of like, you really have to bring this salary every month and you cannot think about anything else but having this like minimum salary that you can afford for yourself to survive on a daily basis. You're not like, your mind is not in this state that you can create or you can think about what you would like to do in your life. And this is what happened when I was like from 20 to 30. I was really like surviving. I don't remember myself even thinking about entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And in the surviving state, it's really, really difficult. And I think this is why most of the successful entrepreneurs, when I look at their stories, it was almost as if they had some point to grow from. And I didn't have this point to grow from, because the 10 years from 20 to 30, I was really working hard to go through some things and to help my family. But eventually, when I started to grow, like my career started to grow, and I was advised to relocate to Ukraine to build here from scratch a real estate company, to work for a real estate company, one of the biggest ones in Israel. I took that an opportunity because I wanted to be close to my dad. Of course, he was in Ukraine at that time. And from there, it was a really interesting journey for me, because it's almost as if I was opening my own company, because I had to hire people. I had a limited budget. I had to find interesting projects and to purchase a land for the company and to deal with all the illegal and accounting. And it was a new country. I knew the language, but it's different mentality. I was already raised grew and had my BA in Israel, so the different way they approached things. And when things got better, and once again, there was 2008 financial crisis, and companies just had to close their activities, and including the real estate. So I had to close everything. We had to sell everything, and it was very sad, of course. But on the other hand, I saw again this up and down, and I'm already used to it. I'm like, if there's no up and down, then what? Then it's not interesting anymore, probably. And then I just had this feeling that I'm exhausted, and I just have to kind of put things aside, because this probably is not working anymore. And this is when I decided to become a mom. So I dedicated 5 years from my life to be a mother to my two beautiful kids, who are 9 and 6 now.
Yes.
And I enjoyed every moment of it. When my smallest went to kindergarten, I had enough time, and there was the mode that you're not surviving. You're like, okay, fine. And then this is the mode that you become creative, I suppose. You have to start to think, you want to create something. And this is when I just had this first news. I was following LinkedIn news, and I saw this lending club company, peer-to-peer lending. It was so interesting. I was so much involved in the fintech world already, and I was reading a lot. And it made me think, like, something is going to change in the financial world and the finance technology. And the way that people communicate is different. The way that people use technology is different. So this is what actually made me think, create my own way of developing something interesting. So Ukraine is an IT, region. I would say the IT is very much developed. The people are very talented, and it's not as expensive as in Europe. So I started to look into building a team. The first team I built was a total disaster.
Why was it a disaster?
Because I was thinking that, you have to learn how to work with developers. I was never working with developers by myself. And so I thought I will just give them I will explain the whole picture as I was doing as a manager of the real estate company, and they know what to do. And it's not the way it works. You have to really take people who know to think, not as a developer only, but also to understand the concept. So the first team was a real disaster because I think they didn't understand the whole picture, or we couldn't match our expectations. And some of them were sitting in Russia, and some of them were sitting in Ukraine. So it kind of didn't work. I had to close the team and just leave everything and close everything again. And then within 1 month, I was determined to build a new team. And this is what I did. I understand.
And can I go back 1 second to the old team? Because I think a lot of people also keep trying too long when things don't work. What made you decide, this is not going to happen? I'm going to let go of everybody and I'm going to build an entire new team, because you have invested your money and your time in building this team already, right?
Yeah, it was very hard because we also understood that the code that they wrote is something that we cannot reuse. So we had to start from scratch. And I had already my provider knocking on my door and saying, come on, you have to finalize it, because
where is it?
Yes, it was very, very stressful because I saw that the team is not bringing results, and I had to change something in the way it works. Something was not working well, and I was very lucky that one of the team members who was sitting in Moscow at the time, he called me, Nikolai. He told me, and he said, Zhana, listen, I will be honest with you. Your idea is very interesting and it's super important that you do it, but you have a wrong team. You have to leave us. You have to break the team and rebuild it in a way that suits your needs. And I was super thankful to this person, because he was very open about what his abilities are, and he was very open about the current situation with the team. And he said, I will help you to find people. They have to sit together, because otherwise it will not give you the final push. So he really helped me to kind of go and hunt for the right people. And another struggle was that I couldn't offer them anything, because it was a startup. We only were building minimum viable product, and we couldn't know what's going to be after the launch of this product. So I had to go after experienced developers, promising them that after the launch there will be some salary I could pay them, but at the same time, most probably it will not be 100%, but they would still have to kind of stay with me. I think this is the hardest part for any entrepreneur, to build this team that would understand that they're not there only for money, but they're also for the mutual, common idea behind what we are doing. But I was fortunate to have an interesting project that made them think that they're going to be the part of something groundbreaking. So I'm not the best salesperson, I know that, because I don't consider myself to be a good salesperson. I don't know. I think my personality, in the way that I was honest with them, I never lied to them about you're gonna be like rich or you're gonna be this and that. I just explained my situation. They said, if it's gonna work, we all gonna benefit from it. But if you prefer just to go to work for someone who would pay you salaries for the rest of your life, and you don't want to make any impact in this world, then we're not a good match. And this is the way, like, we found really great people in our team who share the same values. So yes, I had to finalize my cooperation with the first team, to break it down completely and to rebuild the team from scratch. And we had to launch within 3 months. So
oh wow.
Yes. So yes, we did that.
Yeah. And how do you keep your own emotions and your own nerves like in sync? Because you have a new team. You already made commitments to suppliers. You only have 3 months. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with that? You're also a mom, so it's not like you can close the door and be like, okay, talk to you in 3 months. Just take care of yourselves.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what I was asking myself. How was, like, today I'm asking myself how I kind of handled it. I think the experience that I had with my dad and my family, and the fact that I was striving and striving to survive from the age 20 until 30. And there is something like, it's like a boxer that goes to the ring, and he, even when the ring bells and the fight is over, I kind of probably stayed in the state that I'm fighting, and I'm still fighting. I didn't put my gloves off, and this is probably what helped me, because the 10 years of my experience of surviving is something that are inside of me, a part of me, and it's never gonna leave me. Probably I'm never gonna be the way I was before. So I think it's just the way I taught myself to be in this ready motion state, ready to fight state, because I don't know how to do it differently. This is the way I'm gonna be after. I don't know how it's gonna be after, like, the huge success, but I'm not gonna be like resting on some, I don't know, beach. I think I will still work and be in this mode probably for quite a long time.
I think even if you were to go to the beach, you would bring your laptop and you would still be working. Now, one of the things I actually admire so much about you is how much you believe in what you're doing. Like, for the people that don't know this, but you already had an offer to sell the entire company for a couple of million. And you said, well, that's nice. Thanks for your trust, but no, thank you. I'm going to take this company to the next level.
The interesting part was that the offer was not just having money and enjoying the money from the day, from like within 2 years from the day we launched, but also the offer was that I would still be a part of the company. So they're not like buying me out and leaving me aside. So it made it even twice more, even more attractive, right? Because you're still doing what you love. But there was something inside of me that it felt if it was not the right moment, because I thought that this is not the value I can bring the company to. I thought that it's not like I'm not doing, I don't know if it's, I'm doing it for money or not for money. I cannot believe entrepreneurs are not doing things for money. Something else, there's something else. You kind of have this feeling that it's not accomplished yet to the state it has to get, and you are still a part of this journey. And I think it made me, I was not even thinking too much. I was just no, it's gonna be even more than that. And this is what we believed from the beginning, and my team as well. Some of my team members said that why you're not selling? I would just sell and take the money. It was so funny. But they do understand that it's just the beginning. If we had this offer today, we will probably have more offers in the coming years. I hope so.
Oh, maybe for sure.
Maybe it's not true. Maybe we are making a mistake and we had to sell. I don't know. Time will tell.
And how do you make decisions? Because you sound like somebody that makes decisions very intuitively.
Very much intuitively, very much so. I don't know, it's something that you kind of believe that you are a part of universe and universe is a part of you. And there are some things that you cannot explain why you do them. And I think this is very important to be connected to yourself. And if you're connected to yourself, you don't regret most of the things you do. So I think this is something that I keep on doing all the time, every time I make a decision.
Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, I also hear that you're very open for feedback from your team, right? Even though you don't always take their advice, but sometimes you do in the first case where somebody said, well, you don't have the right team. Or in the second case where somebody says like, what? You're crazy. Just sell the company, take the money. Like, what are you doing? How do you create a culture like that?
I think I don't push them too much. I never say that I always say that you have your opinion and I have my opinion, and it's okay for us to have different opinions. I always also think, like, sometimes we were talking about the office and should we sit all in the office now when there is a COVID and people are afraid to go out, from their houses. So I was very open about it. I said, you decide, because we are here in the office and we have this nice atmosphere. And when you don't put too much pressure on people, they eventually will do what you want them to do. But you have to be patient for them to make this decision, because you just kind of guide them, but you cannot make decisions instead of them. And the wrong thing is to kind of pressure and say, this is what I want, because this person eventually will leave you, and you don't want someone to work for you just because they have to. I really want my people to work with me because they want to work.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's also one of the key reasons for your success, that you really tap into the natural skills of all the people that you're working with.
And no, it just happens naturally. I never give it a thought in terms of, am I doing the right thing? I'm just trying to be, as my father was saying also, try to always think of a win-win situation, not be in the position that you take advantage of people, but also don't other people take advantage of your weaknesses. So always think for the benefit of the both. If you both benefit from the situation, then probably everything is balanced. If someone is not feeling well, probably the balance is not working anymore, and it's better to just, split.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing piece of advice. So how do you find that balance?
Every day is different. Sometimes there are some moments that you feel that you're not controlling anything. And here is actually some good advices also from my husband, who is also a very huge experience working with people, because he has built a company here in Ukraine also from scratch by joining a startup called Playtika around 10 years ago. And the company started as 5 people, and today there are 2,500. And he always tells me one thing. He says, if something is not working today with the person, for sometimes I'm talking to my developers, and some of them are fighting me back too much, and the balance is kind of shaky. And so he says, just give it a time. Don't talk to him again. Don't talk to him today. Talk to him again tomorrow, or after 2 days. You will see that he will come different. And sometimes it's good to take these breaks. Breathe out. Take your time. You have to, don't make decisions based on emotions, because most of us eventually are emotional at every decision that we make, and emotions are always there. You cannot turn them off. His advice about that was, try to, if you see that someone is not listening, leave them alone, and then within 2 days try to speak with them again.
Yeah, and pick the right time.
Yes, and this really works.
So today you're already in how many countries?
So the service is available in 50 countries. We are still in the process of new integrations. We are planning to add. We are now supporting Mastercard, and we plan to add Visa hopefully very soon. We are in the process of fundraising, so the company is bootstrapped. We think that it's time for us, to expand, to scale, and to let people know that this is a very helpful solution for them, to enable them to receive money instantly in any currency. And fundraising was still a process that I'm learning how to accomplish it, because fundraising is about trust, is about learning the person that founded the company, learning about the team, and it's really very time-consuming process. So I understand that as a CEO, I have to dedicate a lot of my time for that, and this is what eventually I'll be doing now, because it's hard for me to go to fundraise if I don't see the growth, and I'm 100% sure I can go and ask for money for the company. And I think this is why I'm not considered a salesperson, because a good salesperson would sell the idea before he actually did the proved himself or herself. So I had to prove myself that I can do it, and then probably be ready to fundraise.
Well, it also depends on what your definition of sales is, right? And I think in that sense, there's still this image of like the car salesman or woman, like trying to push hard and force people to make a sale. Whereas I would disagree. I think you actually focus on the value. Your solution is very valuable because you're like the fastest and the cheapest way to transfer money internationally, or at least in all the countries that you're serving. And that's also what is reflected in your growth.
Yes, we are seeing that we're taking a very substantial market share from the big players market, and this is very intriguing, because we don't have the same money they have for marketing, so it means organic growth, quite substantial organic growth, and we are very excited about it, because we already the revenue is a few times higher than the amount we spend on marketing, which is a great sign. So I do think that now we just have to get this support, because it's just a tip of an iceberg what we achieved, really.
Yes, totally. And how has the pandemic impacted your business?
Great question. We were very scared when it started, because we didn't know how it's going to influence our growth. But in a way, when it started, there was a little bit downside in the growth, and then all of a sudden, again, we saw a very stable growth. So what happened is that although salaries are maybe lower and some people are unemployed today or because of the situation, but since they cannot travel, or since they cannot move money by any other means, by moving from one country to another, the only way is left is to use online services.
Yes.
And this is why we believe that although there is more unemployment, less salaries, and etc., and a lot of people are in crisis and still are in crisis, we still see growth in this sector and in our KPIs because of this need for an online solution. People don't move as much as they prefer, and then they have to do it online.
No, that makes total sense.
Yep. So we see a good KPI so far.
And what is the situation like in Ukraine? Are you on lockdown still? I see you working from an office, so...
No, we don't have a lockdown as we had 6 months ago, when we had to just be within the area of our house, like not more than 5 kilometers from our house. So yes, everyone was working from home. It didn't influence in any way on the way we communicate, but people were super excited we moved to a new office, and people were very excited to see each other again.
Yes.
I still don't make it, it's not a must to be in the office, it's not obligatory, but people prefer to come to see each other, to brainstorm, to kind of to get this inspiration from each other, because we all inspire each other. I don't see myself as the only inspiration in the team, although I'm the most motivated one. But I think all of them are quite impressive here, and I get inspired by some of the people in the company as well, from their ideas, the way they think. And so it's quite nice to be able to. We're a small team. I just, from the example of my husband's team, there are so many people there, so they have to breaking the team into a few little teams that they can come to the office. So Ukraine currently is not like in total lockdown, although there's a growth in number of EU people, but I think the overall situation here is more or less under control. I also sent my kids to school.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think, if it's going to be worse, then we will sit at home.
Well, at least you're ready. You have an online business. You still see your growth. What would you advise people that are thinking about starting a business right now?
Right now, like in this time of...
Because I find it interesting, not to put any words in your mouth, of course, but the sector that you moved into, a lot of people also say it's a red ocean. There's so much competition. And so you're actually in a very competitive market during the pandemic, and
Yes.
you're still growing.
Yes. Well, it's true. I think we are both lucky, and we just had this, once again, my intuition was that we are building something different, although very similar. Like eventually we also enable sending money, the same way any other company is doing. We're just doing it a bit differently. Yeah.
Of course, yes.
But I think people are, my team is always asking me, are we doing something that users are to do, or we are creating something that people still don't know and they would love to use once they know about it? It's really like two different approaches. Like Apple approach is to create something people don't know, and they eventually would not be able to live without that. And this was Steve Jobs' approach, yes. And Google's approach is listen to the customers and then create what they ask for. And these are very different approaches. And our approach is like a combination of two.
Yes, it's your own approach.
It's my own approach, and my team eventually agrees with me, because I'm personally sitting on customer support every day because we want to understand what they think about us. And we learned from our users a lot.
Yes.
I think that it doesn't matter in what state of entrepreneurship you are. If you don't listen to your customer, if you don't understand what they want, it's a huge mistake. It doesn't matter how much the company is earning. You have to open the customer support and your tickets and see what are the pain points of your customers. Yes. And what you can improve. Other thing to do is always think how you can do what others are doing better. Because if you're doing the same thing, then you will just be okay, but it will not make you different.
Yes.
This is where we put a lot of energy by actually we are watching what others are doing, but we're not spending too much time on that, to tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. We're just going forward with what we believe. Because if we go and watch what others are doing, we will spend too much time on it will not focus on what we know how and what we want to do. So basically, we try to be focused on our experience and our journey in this project.
And I think that makes total sense. And that's such good advice. Like always keep talking to your customers, learn from your customers, keep growing together with your customers. Because in the end, that's the people that keep your company growing and keep your business alive, right? Even during a pandemic. Yes. And also a very valuable point that you say, like, of course, keep an eye on the competition, but don't get too scared. Like trust in the own way you're building your business and the mission that you want to establish, and just keep on building it and take your steps forward and keep building that business.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah. For everybody that was like, oh, wow, I need a quicker payment and a cheaper payment solution, where should they go?
Well, since we're still in 50 countries and we are not covering all the use cases, I think I would suggest anyone to still go and compare and see what others are offering. I think this is what customers are doing anyways, because others would not find Fin.do. They would be, okay, there is this and that company. I would not say the names, but this is enough. The fact that they find us, even though we don't have money for marketing, is that people are eager to learn about new stuff that is coming up. So I think people know what to do when they need to send money or to receive money instantly. I think what they should keep on doing is comparing and seeing what suits their needs the best way. Because, sometimes in some countries, unfortunately, there is nothing but the regular wire transfer that you have to wait for 2 weeks, unfortunately. So hopefully we will be getting to those countries too, and we will be able to scale and offer our services there as well, and to help as many people as possible.
Yes, well, I cannot wait till the day that I can use your platform with all my customers, all my employees, because I think it's amazing. I'm a user and a big fan of it myself, so I can highly recommend it. And I would like to thank you very much for sharing your amazing journey today. So much wisdom, so much faith in what you're doing, and such a big fan of you.
Thank you very much. I'm a fan of you.
And that's how we grow, right? We help each other and we lift each other up.
Yes, exactly. Women power. Actually,
right.
My team are women, so.
Yes, we'll be sharing all your socials so people can actually find you and your amazing company and start using your incredibly fast and affordable services. And we wish you all the best. And we can't wait to hear updates from you on how things are going.
Yes, of course, we will update, and we will be happy to announce new things that are coming within year's time. And thank you for having me. It was a really pleasure, as always, to talk to you both online, offline. I really, really enjoy having our talks. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And to everybody, have a great day. And thanks for tuning in.